back to your childhood for a moment. Think about a summer vacation. Think about the excitement of a school trip. Think about a birthday party you couldn't forget. And think about a day that felt so long that it seemed to stretch forever. Here's the strange thing. I used to think that adulthood was a scam when I was just 8 years old and year felt enormous. Waiting for my birthday felt like waiting for an entirely new chapter of life. Summer vacations felt endless. A school trip felt like months away. Yet somehow, a single day could feel packed with lots of adventures. But today, January becomes June, June becomes December, and suddenly, without even realizing it, another year is gone. Have you ever looked at the calendar and wondered, what? Wasn't it just the New Year's Eve? If you have, you're not alone. In fact, this feeling is so common that it has become almost a universal part of growing up. Why did childhood feel like an eternity while years seem to pass in the blink of an eye? For years, I thought I knew the answer. I thought time itself was speeding up. I thought growing older somehow made the clock move faster. But then I discovered something way fascinating. The clock hasn't changed. The minutes haven't changed. The seconds haven't changed. What truly changed was us. And understanding why may completely change the way we live our lives. Psychologists and neuroscientists who study memory and time perception have found something very remarkable. People all around the world experience exactly the same feeling. Across different countries, cultures, and generations, people constantly say that as they grow older, the years seem to accelerate. Many people report that the last decade of their lives seems to move much faster than the previous ones. So, if you have ever felt like life is speeding up, you're not imagining this. This feeling is indeed real. The mystery isn't whether time is faster, the mystery is why. So, I decided to ask questions in a different manner. What if time isn't moving faster? What if we are measuring time in the wrong direction? Because clocks measure time. But we human beings don't live inside clocks. We live inside memories. And that's what changes everything. Think about your first day at school. You probably don't remember every lesson. You probably don't remember every worksheets, but you may remember how it felt. The nervousness, the excitement, the unfamiliar faces, the new classroom. But why? You might wonder. Because it was new. The brain paid attention. And when the brain pays attention, it creates stronger memories. Researchers have found that novel experiences create richer memory records. The more memories we create, the more longer a period of time feels when we look back on it. Our brain is designed to work less like a clock and more like a storyteller. So, whenever something that is new, exciting, or meaningful happens, the storyteller immediately writes it down. Now, let us think about childhood, shall we? Childhood is essentially a collection of first experiences. The first day at school, the first best friend, the first ever competition, The first ever stage performance, the first victory, the first failure, and the first time you discovered something completely new. Children are living in a world filled with firsts, but adults often live in a world filled with repeats. Perhaps that is why childhood feels so long. Not because children have more time, but because they have more firsts. Let that sink in for a moment. Imagine your brain as a movie editor. Every day, it decides what deserves a role in the final movie of your life. When you're young, everything is important. So the editor keeps everything. But as life becomes familiar, the editor starts becoming selective. Soon, entire weeks turn into months, entire months turn into years. After hearing this, you might think that there is something wrong with routine. No, there isn't. In fact, there is nothing wrong with routine. Routines make our life way more productive and organized. But there is a hidden cost. Routine makes life predictable. And when life becomes predictable, the brain stops paying attention. Days begin blending together. Weeks become difficult to distinguish. And months start feeling shorter. Without realizing it, we begin living on autopilot. And I think that's the real problem. The problem isn't that life gets shorter. The problem is that life becomes less memorable. Think about the lockdown period during COVID 19. For many people, days felt slow as they were living through them. Yet, when they looked back, entire months seemed compressed together. Why? Because there were fewer unique experiences separating one day from another. This tells us something powerful. Our experience of time is shaped not only by the clock, it is shaped by memory. And if memory influences how long life feels, then maybe we have more control than we think. Maybe the solution isn't finding more time. Maybe the solution is creating more memories. The good news is that this doesn't require extraordinary adventures. You don't need to travel the world. You don't need to climb the mountains. You don't need to completely change your life. You just need to simply start collecting first again. Try learning a new instrument. Learn a new skill. Read something you have never considered reading. Learn a few words in a new language. Because with each and every new experience, a message is being sent to your brain. Pay attention to this. This matters. Remember this. Imagine doing one new thing every week. Just one. At the end of a year, you would have 52 new experiences, 52 new opportunities, and perhaps 52 new memories to make life feel a little longer, a little richer, and a little more meaningful. I call this the first challenge. Not because it might change your schedule, but because it might change your relationship with time itself. Now, imagine yourself 10 years from today, looking back at this period of your life. What will you see? A blur of routines or a collection of moments that made you laugh, learn, grow, and wonder? For a long time, I used to think the problem was that time was moving way too fast. But now I realized what the true problem is. We stopped noticing. We stopped exploring and we stopped collecting first. Maybe the secret to making life feel longer isn't adding more years to our lives. Maybe it's adding more life to our years. Maybe it's staying curious. And maybe it's continuing to collect first. So go out and create moments that makes time slow down. Fill your life with curiosity, courage, and countless firsts, because those are the moments that makes a life feel rich and beautifully long. And when you look back one day, may your life be filled not with regrets about what you didn't do, but with stories that remind you how fully you lived. It's because the greatest adventure isn't waiting somewhere in the future. It's created every time you choose to take the first step. So, when tomorrow begins, don't ask yourself, how can I make today productive? Instead, ask yourself, how can I make today unforgettable? Because in the end, life is not measured by the number of days we live. It is measured by the number of days we truly remember.